I want to introduce the Tetractys. I've been hanging out with the symbol for a while now, and it's like the father of all occult symbols. It comes straight from way back 600 BC with Pythagoras starting his school and being the father of philosophy, which is philosophy being the father of a lot of science and being extremely influential on obviously Plato and then Neoplatonism and then Hermeticism and thus the Western mystery traditions that I'm talking about, which ultimately gave birth to tarot. And I'm not an academic. I'm not a historian, so you can't really trust me with anything I say. But I like to orient myself in time, in the illusion of time and space, to kind of get a sense of where I'm at, what's going on, what's influencing what. But this, I love this symbol because one, it's old, and we love to fetishize the past, right? We like to go back, and this happens throughout history, right? But we love to fetishize the past, and we love to kind of imagine what they were talking about and look for that perennial philosophy, that ultimate truth that always is. So this is the Tetractys, and I like it because it's simple, but I also like it because it says so much in such simple terms. The Tetractys shows us a division of the ultimate unity, the ground of being, the creator of the universe, God, Brahman, whatever, Atman, not necessarily Atman, but like the ultimate ground of being. And it shows us, it creates the bridge between our experience and the experience of ultimate reality. Now, you don't have to agree with me, but I would bet most people would agree with what I'm about to say. You don't have to agree. But a lot of life, we experience suffering, okay, right? And we experience what seems to be limitation. I can't do this. My life will eventually end. I only have so much time. I only have so much money, right? Yet, if you're watching me and you've gotten this far in this talk, you're probably on some sort of spiritual path or magical path or esoteric path, or maybe you're just crazy like me and that's cool. Maybe you're psychotic, but whatever. If you're any of those, then you likely have an intuition that what we are looking at and what we are experiencing, what seems final, what seems limited, is not quite correct. Okay, it's like our intuition says something else, and I believe that most people, when you ask them enough, and when you really dig down into it, there eventually is this experience or intuition of infinity, of absolute infinity. And listen, this is not me saying it. I've experienced this, but this is the sages and the prophets and the people, and people have been saying this for years, for all eternity, right? There's this if you read any mystic, read any occultist, read any there's this intuition of infinity. It's the best way I can kind of describe it. So what a lot of mysticism and in some ways high magic does, and the tarot does, is it tries to create a bridge between what we intuit as infinite and what appears to be finite. And that's what the Tetractys does, the symbol right here. And that is what the tarot does, and that is what the Kabbalah does, and that is what a lot of does. And we're going to look at how love shows up in a lot of those directions of this bridge. So if you're reading this is kind of like, and this is like not, probably doesn't sound that strange, it's unity, it's the monad, it's the point, it's the oneness dividing into two-ness. How does everything experience itself through division? And that's going to be a key point I'm going to talk a lot about. Into two-ness. Two-ness goes into three-ness because so we have ultimate truth, the whole truth and nothing but the truth, so help me God, which can only be described through negation, right? We went over that, the nothingness. That nothingness creates two-ness by +1 - 1, by opposition, by duality, by yin-yang, by whatever you want to, by God and goddess, by masculine and feminine. And then the realization and manifestation of that truth, which can only be done through division, creates a third experience. The mind and the macrocosm reflecting the microcosm, the marriage of the original duality into a third but separate self. So this duality comes back together to create what I like to call an interference pattern. And an interference pattern, it's with energy, but it's also, if you have a lake and you have two ripples, two sources of ripples. Imagine a calm lake, you throw two stones in the lake, the ripples hit each other. When the ripples hit each other, it creates all these extra complex ripples. That's an interference pattern. Happens with energy too. It's a physics thing. And this duality between fire and water, man, woman, light, dark, whatever, comes together to create this interference pattern, which is, in a way, the source code for our minds. By the way, what I'm doing, if you're a tarot person, I'm explaining the four elements and how they came to be out of nothing, out of the Fool, and ultimately the Magician. The Fool is pure nothingness. The magician is pure everything consciousness, and the consciousness beholds itself through the process of fire and water, which come together to create air, which is the microcosm reflecting this hermetic marriage of fire and water, and then is realized in earth and materialization in this very moment. So that's the four elements are down here, and in the Tetractys. Now the three, which is the duality creating a separate experience, acting upon the four elements. The four elements is the material world. It represents the material world generally, time, 4 seasons, 4 legs on a table. The three acting upon the four is all of astrology. 3 plus 4 is 7, 7 classical planets. 3 times 4 is 12, 12 zodiacal signs. 3 modes in astrology, 4 elements. And you can say 2 plus 3 is the 5, is the fifth element, spirit, and 1 plus 2, like it all connects, right? 1, 2, 3, and it all this that I'm talking about just comes out of counting. So you got to think about these older like philosophers and sages. They were like counting 1. They were trying to bridge the infinite with the finite. Okay, and when we go on dates and when we get married and when we have arguments and we fall in love and when we have sex and all these things, what we're ultimately doing through whatever means we think is possible, which isn't always a good means of doing so, is we're trying to bridge the infinite with the finite. We're trying to reconcile the experience of separation with what we intuit to be infinite. I truly believe that. I truly believe. And you don't have to believe that. And you have to go and experience and read it and think about it and contemplate it yourself. But yeah, it's like the divine urge. So, like even the Tao produces 1, 1 produces 2, 2 produces 3, and 3 produces all things. All things submit to yin and embrace yang. They soften their energy to achieve harmony. So love, and I'm going to get into romantic love, but I'm talking about cosmic love right now, which is a little bit different. It's a lot of bit different. Actually, it's opposite. Love, like on a cosmic scale, is the dance, we might say, between these numbers and this emanation and the creation of reality in the universe. We can further divide this. I'm not going to get into this technicality. A lot of this stuff, by the way, if you're very interested, I teach courses on this stuff, especially esoteric tarot, Thoth Tarot at tarotmysticismacademy.com. So if you want to really jump in, let me know. But yeah, we're going to focus on love for today.